the quiet suburb of Enfield, North London, nestled among rows of identical brick homes. A nightmare unfolded that would haunt a family and the world for decades. It began in August 1977, when Peggy Hodgson, a single mother of 4, heard a loud crash from her daughter's bedroom. Rushing upstairs, she found her daughters, Janet, 11, and Margaret, 13, wide-eyed with terror. The chest of drawers, they said, had moved on its own, levitating and sliding across the floor, as if pushed by invisible hands. Peggy scolded them, thinking it was a prank. But that night, the knocking began, first soft, then louder, as if something was inside the walls, hammering to be let out. The horror intensifies. The disturbances grew worse. Chairs tipped over, toys flew across the room, lights flickered, cold spots appeared in the air. But the most terrifying thing was Janet herself. One night, she began to speak in a gruff, deep male voice, totally unlike her own. "My name is Bill Wilkins. I died in that chair in the living room." The family was stunned. Janet, a girl barely entering puberty, claimed to be the spirit of a man who had died in their house years ago. Stranger still, when investigators looked into the claim, it was true. A man named Bill Wilkins had lived and died in that exact house. He suffered a brain hemorrhage while sitting in the living room chair. How could Janet have known this? The media and investigators arrive. The case caught the attention of the press. The Daily Mirror sent a reporter and photographer. They witnessed chairs fly through the air, and Janet levited from her bed. The images became famous worldwide. A young girl froze in midair, as if flung by an unseen force. Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair, investigators from the Society for Psychical Research, SPR, took over the case. They stayed in the house for over a year, recording hours of audio and documenting the supernatural phenomena. They reported objects flying across rooms, doors slamming on their own, disembodied voices captured on tape, Janet levitating, being thrown from her bed, strange scratch marks on walls and furniture. And then the growling began. The voice from the void. What terrified the investigators most was the voice that spoke through Janet. It wasn't just deep and unnatural. It lasted for hours without straining her vocal cords. Speech therapists and experts examined her, unable to explain how such a voice could come from a child. The entity would curse, laugh, and mock those in the room. It even gave chilling details about its own death. At times, multiple voices spoke through Janet, each claiming to be different spirits. Skeptics suggested ventriloquism or attention-seeking behavior, but the evidence, the photos, recordings, and eyewitness accounts was hard to dismiss. Skepticism and controversy. Not everyone believed the haunting was real. Some researchers claimed the girls were faking it. Janet herself was once caught bending spoons and flipping chairs when she thought no one was watching. But even the skeptics couldn't explain everything. The police were called and witnessed a chair slide across the room without anyone touching it. One officer even signed an affidavit confirming what she saw. The family had nothing to gain. In fact, they suffered. The children were bullied at school. Peggy became withdrawn. Janet later admitted that she faked some events to test whether the investigators were watching, but said only about 2% of it was made up. The remaining 98%, she said that was real, and it terrified her. The final confrontation. The activity continued for nearly 2 years, but slowly began to fade. By 1979, the haunting had mostly stopped. Janet was sent to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation, but nothing abnormal was found. She described how it felt to lose control of her body, waking up in rooms she didn't remember walking into, hearing voices inside her head, and seeing things that no one else could see. What happened to Janet? Janet eventually married and moved on with her life, though the trauma never left her. In interviews decades later, she still choked up when discussing the events. Peggy Hodgson remained in the Enfield house until her death in 2003. She never claimed the haunting was fake. In 2016, the story was adapted into the Hollywood film The Conjuring 2, bringing the chilling case back into the public eye. While the film dramatized some events, much of it was based on the real case, Files from Enfield. Was it real? To this day, the Enfield Poltergeist remains one of the most documented hauntings in history. Over 30 witnesses, hours of recordings, photos, and physical evidence support the case. Skeptics say it was a hoax. Believers say it was possession. But one thing is certain. Something dark happened in that house on Green Street, and it left a mark that has never truly faded.